This is a sports catastrophe special presentation. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to a brand new episode of the Poker Players KW video collection, season 4. Of course, a few weeks ago, I talked about the road to the Fido and how everyone did and all that. So we had the tournament May the 4th on Star Wars Day. Surprised I didn't make any Star Wars references in my last video, but the fact of the matter is that, it was fun. It was at the Malton Barley. We actually had to move from the Outback Steakhouse to Malton Barley because of some unforeseen circumstances. So, regardless of that, 16 people competed. Now, there is one tiny little difference between the last video and this video is that there was a no-show, well, a workplace problem had forced no-show sales to, well, no show. So unfortunately, that meant that he was unable to compete, and the third place competitor in the wild card round that got to the championship ended up being in the competition and would have to go with the lowest amount of chips because it wouldn't be fair to the 3 people who were below no show sales, and they had jumped up a spot. But anyway, fun by all. So we'll go through all 16 eliminations and some quick banter about the players and all that. So 16 people, as you can see, the chip order of who would be in happened. There was a massive group of some of the great poker players for the past 3 years. Well, 16 people. Okay, one person actually decided to no show, but was still in and was blinded out heavily. I know that feeling too well because I was the one who did that last year, but that was for good reason or bad reason, depending on who you are. Because the same week as the poker tournament landed me in trouble because I also had a ball hockey tournament to compete in. Of course, my team sucked at ball hockey and we ended up going out quickly. So fortunately, it was an early exit, and I had to run to get to the poker thing, and I took 10th out of it. But the fact of the matter is that I double booked. Fortunately, this year I didn't have that problem as the poker tournament was the week before the ball hockey. So basically, I knew what I had to do. Regardless of that, that person will be mentioned later. But anyway, the first person eliminated was the guy who knows Jimmer. Anyway, Jimmer was at my opponent's table, so obviously I did not know. Well, what happened was if you started out in an odd position, like first, third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 11th, 13th, or 15th, you're at one table, and then the others would gather. But Jimmer was the first one eliminated, and his profile pic was of Jimmer Fredette, a star BYU player in NCAA basketball. So Jimmer couldn't. Was dimmered by a swimmer. Himmer, dimmer, kimmer. He is gone. So next on the list of eliminations was 15th was someone who had the weird name of McBitter. So McBitter ended up being the victim of some bad cards himself. He was at my table, the even number table, because he started 14th and all that. So the fact of the matter is that he just didn't have the cards. He said he only won like 1 or 2 hands, and he was just basically out like a fiddle. So regardless of that, McBitter ends up being the second one eliminated, and he has a right to be McBitter because, like a sitter with the dimmer and a hitter, he was no poker hitter. He has to be McBitter. It's got to be McBitter. Okay, so then it was down to 13 competitors. So it was huge and all that. 14, sorry. What am I thinking? So anyway, the next one out was someone who was looking pretty good. He was eighth place and would make the final table if everything went from 1 to 8. But unfortunately, Clicker got clicked on, and basically he used the clicker on the poker cards a little too much. And unfortunately for him, he ended up being the next one KO'd. So Clicker probably had to click on some other sport to see everything and the highlights package to see how badly he was. But anyway, he finished in 14th place, so he is eliminated. All right, so then it was now down to 13 competitors, and unfortunately, Summer did not put up a great fight. She did do what she could, and she was pretty good. And of course, last year I made the ultimate boo boo by calling her a male because it's like, Summer, that's a girl's name? Well, Mr. Diamond, you fucked up big time and you stunk it up. But the fact of the matter is that Summer ran out of chips and ran out of patience. It's not summer, it's spring. And spring has sprung on summer. And summer went down in a heap, unfortunately. And then we were down to 12, a fast moving group of 12 to be sure. And as you see, the names pop up and all that of who was left, you'll be thinking, well, 16th is doing pretty well for herself and putting on a clinic. Unfortunately, Donnie Rodden just ran out of luck, unfortunately. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, to be honest, I didn't know what Donnie Rodden looked like because, she never competed in the first 3 seasons of the poker players thing. To my surprise, I saw her appearance and all that. The fact of the matter is that just because she's different than all of us doesn't mean that she can't be a kick ass poker player. And she was. She did pretty well at the wildcard table and actually beat the defending champion Brian and took Brian out. So, who cares what she looks like? The fact of the matter is, she did well. She hung around. She took 12th place. End of story. Fantastic job by her. All right, so we just took out another competitor. So the top 7 who started at Chips is still around with 4 other interlopers, if you will. Well, 11th place ended up being the guy who decided to just be blinded out. And finally, he went out. Like, lucky duck, he actually was out before 5 people. Kind of pissy posse to me, but, he didn't win any money. So, what argument can I make for anything? So, the fact of the matter is that Younger probably didn't get younger. Probably would never have gotten younger at the poker table as, you had poker sharks swimming around him. Da, 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 da. But anyway, his tactic did not work out and he took 11th place. So he's not getting any younger, man. No, sorry. All right, so after Younger got eliminated, we were down to 10. 10 out of the top 11 moved on, so practically if you were in the top 10, you were safe. And a lot of people probably felt that I would be the next in line because I was scared to go 10th. But unfortunately, the lowest on the chopping block went down again, as it was plain to see that Krista tried her best. She did everything in her possible mind, but unfortunately, she fell flat at the table and took 10th place. At least she took top 10. That's still pretty good. So it was now down to 9 people, and it looked like, business as usual will rule the day. This is where I got nervous about myself because I was not getting the cards, I was not getting anything. I started out quickly. I 2 of the first 3 hands at my table I won with straights, picking them off the flops. and slow playing them enough to get enough chips and to basically prove to people that, the straight was there. So I was worried myself, but in the end, I wasn't the one who went in ninth place. It was the guy who was started ninth, and that's Sorbs. I believe this was his debut season with the Poker Players Club, and so he try as he might, just couldn't hold on, and would take ninth place. Sorry, buddy, but rookies can't do well. So it was down to 8. It was down to the final table, or what was close to being the final table. And it looked like, business as usual would happen as it was down to 8. And seeing the top 7 people still surviving, it looked like the numbers game was going to catch up to me. And I thought so too. But somehow, in some way, I saved my butt. And one of the previous tournament champions, season 2 champion, Rhythms, started out third place and looked like he was going to be a big threat at the end. We all figured that. Unfortunately for him, his time was up. And somehow he blew it. I think he had a few bad beats and all that. Obviously, he was playing at the other table, so I wouldn't know much of the information. But the fact of the matter is, Rhythms tried and Rhythms failed, unfortunately. So he started up third and fell to 8th place. Not a good play by the defending champion. It meant that all 3 defending champions were out. Season 1 champion, Burger Kitty Cat, or whatever his name is called, didn't compete this year. Season 2 champion Rhythms is out, and Season 3 champion Bryberg didn't even qualify. So we would see a new first place champion with 7 players. And yes, I was in the top 7, somehow, in some way. So it was down to the final table, 7 men going toe to toe, to toe, to toe, to toe, to toe, and to toe. So looking at this front 7, you thinking that, well, it's a no man's game. I'm in no man's land, and practically, starting off 10th. How did I get to the final table? Well, somehow, in some way, I kept pulling off a couple of big all-ins and doubling up. The not so lucky party in 7th was the guy who started at number 5, Craftworks. More like Crapworks. Although I can't really say that because he got to the final table. But I would be making more defecation jokes and poo related jokes if he wasn't at the final table. But I'm going to give him thing. Mr. Craftworks, the poker poo. He loves me. I love him. If everybody got to 7th place, at least he was the final table. So it was now down to 6 competitors: 2D, Master Keys, Baden Poker, Wafer, I Humans, and myself. You'll be thinking to yourself, well, how did you get to the top 6? Well, somehow I did it. And then fate would hit its ugly forehead, if you will. As our room was actually double booked, so we had to get out of there by 4 o'clock. Well, this tournament started at noon hour. So just before we got cut down to 5, well, before our time was up, we had somebody out, and Wafer, well, he took 6th place at the poker stack, and Wafer ended up without the cards and just couldn't get through. There were some poker sharks who knew what they were doing, and that's what they did. Wafer, you don't want to have what I need. So it was now down to 5. It was down to the man who was ranked number 1, 2D. It was down to Master Keys number 2, number 4, Baden Poker, number 7, I Humans, and number 10, Cutter 2734, aka yours truly. So then it was huge. It was down to 5, and actually the top 4 got money. So the practical thing was that, I figured I was done. I was on the bubble. I had the lowest start position at number 10, and how I got to the top 5 is beyond me. And then for some strange reason, I kept getting decent cards. I got a couple of major flops and river cards, or the 5th card and all that. So practically, I figured I was done for. But I wasn't done for. it was the man who was slated to be the loser and miss out on getting that poker trophy. The man who kind of commissioned the poker trophy. But yeah, Master Keys just had fallen flat. He had a few terrible hands. I take responsibility for one of them, but not for all of them. So anyway, Master Keys went down flat. I'm a big fan of his son working in the sports industry, getting a job where, hopefully, getting a job in the industry where I should have been in. But, jealousy rears its ugly head. But, he's a good man, Master Keys is. And, he deserved better. He really did. But, the cards just fell flat for him. And he wore the John Tavares jersey, which I was not a keen fan of because I'm like, I don't want to wear a Leaf jersey. I wear my Jose Batista jersey because I'm like, why would I wear my Leafs jersey? I don't want to jinx the Leafs later that night. So anyway, yeah, that's what happened. So everyone on the top four were in the money and all that. You had 2D, you had Bait and Poker, you had IA Humans, and you had myself. And two of the big four um, were slated to be in the final four, first and fourth place. So it was weird. When you look at the stat thing, it's 14710. So it's basically every third person gets in after number one, which that's what ended up happening. Number one was there, number four was there, number seven was there, and number 10 starter was there. So yeah, so I got money and I figured, well, fourth place is pretty good. I'll get some key money. Somehow, in some way, it didn't happen that way. Because fourth place ended up falling to the guy who was the leader at the start, 2D. I am 2D and I am sleep. Da, 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 da. I can't remember who sings that song, but anyway, regardless of that, he just fell flat. And, I didn't eliminate him. I didn't eliminate anybody. But yeah, he ran out of chips and ran out of patience. I believe it was humans who took him out. But regardless of that, it just meant that I was in the final three. So I would get a podium finish when I started in 10th place. So I had to be on top of the world. So it was now down to three people and all that. Bait and Poker, I Ate Humans, and myself. So I figured to myself, well, I just got to third place. That's okay. But the fact of the matter was that, you know, I was the cockroach of the final table and the cockroach of the tournament because people couldn't get rid of me. Not, yeah, I was taking it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chances to beat me, and nobody eliminated me. I knew my luck was going to run out sometime, and yes, it did. So I ended up taking third place. Humans finally got rid of me on a flop on the river, no doubt. So the river fucked me over and I took third place. But you know what? Considering what I went through, considering everything that's happened, I'm proud that I took top three because nobody expected me to be top five. No one expected me to make the final table because of my starting position. And, me barely eliminating people and the fact that, live poker is not my thing. I somehow pulled a rabbit out of my hat and took third place and got a good chunk of change because of that. So anyway, that's what happened, and I just lost. So it was now down to two. It was down to the 4 seed Baden Poker from lovely Baden, Ontario, versus the number 7 seed I Ate Humans, who had a reputation for, stalking certain competitors with his style, poker style. So I think humans had it all. And I looked at this final chip count and I'm like, well, humans has got this. So he goes from seventh to first. That's a pretty good starting position if I say so myself. So that's what happened. I figured that. But because of how late it was in the tournament, like 5 o'clock, and I had another commitment with my good buddy Bill Lang, I had to jet. I had to go get chips and all that. Now, I know you'll be probably saying, Cutter, did you drink during that competition? I said, yeah, I drank a couple of pints of beer, but I was in a position that I wasn't wobbly or anything. I knew where I was going. I knew I had to walk from the malt barley to the Sobeys to buy chips for Bill and Harley and all that. I knew where I was going. I knew where everything was, all that. But the fact of the matter is that I figured that humans was going to win, and I was dead in the duck, and I would not hear the end of it because he would be taunting me all over WhatsApp. But then the announcements popped up, and Baden Poker is pictured with a trophy. What? I humans had such a big chip lead. You let it slip away? How? 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 Well, I don't know how and I don't know why, but yeah, Baden Poker shocked the world. He started out number 4, and he's the 4th champion of the Poker Players KW. So hail to Baden Poker. He beat us fair and square, and he knew how to do the chips. I hate humans. What the fuck, man? I know that we have a rivalry, but fuck, man, you had it. You had everything, and you were going to be heckling me online and all that stuff. Case of rum, case of rye. But the fact of the matter is, Baden Poker, congratulations to you. You are the champion. You got the season 4 trophy. Good on you. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.